Do you have any good habits? Do you have any things that you do on a pretty consistent basis that either make you happy, make you healthier, make other people happy? What about bad habits? Do you have any bad habits? We all make habits. We make them, regardless of whether we're aware that we're making them or not, we do. And it's part of our brain's natural way to try to make things easier. Today, we're going to talk about what a habit loop is. Basically, it's a 3-step process that's involved when we make a habit. And we're going to talk about it in relation to caregiving for our parent. Before we get into it, I'm Tammy Provenzel. I'm a physical therapist and a life coach for caregivers. I started this channel because I feel like we don't have enough resources or guidance for caregivers, especially in the challenging relationship of caregiving for a parent. So I started this channel to be a resource. Here's what a habit loop is. A habit loop involves 3 steps. Today we're going to talk about the first step, which is a trigger. Tomorrow I'll do a video on the second step, which is the action. And then the following day, a video on the third step, which is the reward. The first step is the trigger. What triggers us to run this program or to run this habit? The brain gets triggered to do something. So what may have started as a conscious effort to do something can become a habit. And we can use things like triggers to help in the process of making a habit. So what starts off as a very conscious thing becomes unconscious and just runs automatically. And that can be really powerful. As long as our habits are either helpful or healthy, but if there are bad habits and we want to change them, looking at the trigger is a great place to start. So trigger is the thing that happens right before the action. It can be anything from something you see, hear, taste, smell, touch. We can be triggered by an emotion. If I'm feeling depressed, it might trigger me to eat. And very often we can be triggered to have different thought patterns. For example, if I'm in a discussion with my mom and she responds in an angry tone, what I perceive as angry, that tone might trigger in me a thought pattern. The thought might say something like, she's disrespectful to me. She's always disrespectful to me. And then that thought pattern can lead to an emotion that I'm feeling. And that can become a habit, so that every time mom has a certain tone, without me consciously being aware of it, I can find myself thinking things like I'm so disrespected, and then feeling things like depression or anxiety or overwhelm. Triggers can also be physical. We can do things physically to trigger an action that we want to take, and vice versa. So for example, using a very powerful posture or a very powerful stance right before you go into a really difficult environment, an argument or a meeting that you don't feel like is going to go well, you could trigger yourself to feel more empowered by, before you go into that situation, doing something like standing like Superman, standing like a superhero, or any other kind of a power posture that will trigger you internally to feel more powerful. Emotions themselves can be triggers. I might feel slightly anxious about mom's medical issues, and that may become a trigger to worrying, to constant anxiety, or catastrophizing about how nothing's going to go well in the future. And on the other side, having a moment when you're laughing or a moment of joy might trigger a pattern of connection or love. Our environment can serve as a trigger. For example, if my grandmother passed away in a nursing home, for me going into a nursing home now might trigger thoughts or feelings about my parent or even myself related to health and the future. And interpersonal interactions can also be triggers. Comments that people say, behaviors they do, even nonverbal cues. The way my mom might look at me might trigger me to have a thought or a feeling, she's not happy, she's angry. It might lead to me feeling anxious or depressed. The exercise I'm offering is for 1 week to write down your triggers. Start by becoming a detective or a ninja. Write down the things that happen right before you took an action. And if you're looking at a negative habit you'd like to change, right before you took that action you don't feel great about, what happened? Was it a tone of voice? Was it somebody's body language? Was it something you had to do? Where were you when this was happening? Who was there? Keeping a journal allows us to take some of these things that are running subconsciously and bring them to our conscious attention. It also, I think, really helps to get some of the stuff out of our head and onto paper where it can be addressed much easier. So the goal is to pinpoint the exact trigger that made you take an action. Hopefully today's video was interesting. If it was, please like and share, subscribe to this channel, and in the comment section below, let me know what you think. Thanks.